I am Father Charles Polifka, Capuchin Franciscan. There's so many different Catholic holy orders. We all believe the same creed. We all believe the same creed, and it's all the same. We have ourselves, our Franciscans, the Renewal, Dominicans, Oblates, all members of one family with different names. You know, remember when you say there are different Catholic holy orders. Well, holy orders is the priesthood. The holy orders are the orders that were given to the apostles, and those are the orders that are passed down to the priesthood. In the church, there are many different kinds of communities, and I presume this would be there are many different communities in the church. This is because there are different saints throughout the ages, and different holy people have followed the gospel, or have looked at the gospel and seen different ways of following Jesus in the gospel, emphasizing certain points. Francis emphasized poverty, he emphasized community, he emphasized brotherhood. That was his big emphasis, brotherhood. That all people, the brothers, live together in harmony and community. That was his big thing. And also poverty in the sense of detaching ourselves from material things in the world. But each order, Dominic, was a great preacher, and he founded an order of preachers. And Mother Teresa had a very love for the dying and the poor who were dying. And so their orders are founded on those kinds of charisms, and that's why we have so many different orders. The gospel has so many values in it and so many important parts of it, and different people have seen different ways of following Jesus through the gospel, following the gospel, but emphasizing, whether emphasizing proclaiming the gospel, or emphasizing brotherhood and community, or emphasizing studies, or whatever it might be. But there's so many different parts of ways of following Jesus, and that's why we have so many different orders in the church, because each one of them takes one little part of the gospel and tries to really imitate Jesus in that. Just one more here before did the Franciscans really create the popular Nativity Scene? That's an interesting one. The story of the Nativity Scene goes back to St. Francis. He had finished writing his rule, and he went to Greccio with some of the brothers and called all the people together and called them up onto the hillside up on top of Greccio. If you've ever seen Greccio, it's right on the cliff, a mountain cliff. But anyway, he called the people up there to celebrate Christmas. And, well, he had something unique in store for them. Francis had this unique ability to make things sensible. By sensible, I mean touchable, feelable, so that people could really feel and sense what the message of the gospel was. And so he put together what could have been the story of the birth of Jesus. The animals were there, the manger was there. Anyway, he put together a scene, a living scene, in which the people could see and say, oh, so this was what it's like. This was what it was like when God came into the world. He came into the world in a setting like this, not in a royal palace, not in some great beautiful place, but in a simple scene where there were animals gathered around, where they were searching for food, where they were searching for warmth. This is where he came into the world. And so when the people came up and saw that, it gave them a brand new outlook on the Nativity. It wasn't just something you read about. It wasn't just something that you thought about happening 2,000 or 1,000 years ago in the time of Francis, but it was something that just made an impression on them. That was Francis's way of doing things, doing things to make people stop, think, and really appreciate what it was all about. And this was his way of saying, look, God came into the world in this humble surroundings, surrounded by animals, and surrounded in a manger, lying in a manger. And this is what it was like. And so the people got that. Now, You might say, so now when we see the crib scenes, these are beautiful crib scenes made of, you can buy these very expensive crib scenes. I often wonder, what would Francis say today to that? He would say, well, maybe you've got the wrong picture that I really wanted you to have. If you have a crib scene of poor animals that symbolize the animals that were there, which is, has dirt and grime and different kinds of things all around there, the animal poop and everything else, maybe that's the scene. But now when you have these beautiful statues, it's nice, and it's a way of saying God became one of us in a barnyard scene. But really, I think Francis today would look at the nativity scenes that we have and say, well, I think you took my idea into the wrong direction. You made it a commercial thing. So did Francis create this commercial thing? I don't think so. What he did create was a scene in which people could really experience the poverty of God, God pouring himself out to become a human being, where people could experience what that first nativity was all about. So in answer to your question, did the Franciscans really create the popular nativity scene? If by popular I mean those beautiful statues and beautiful image animals and those really expensive things, that wasn't what Francis created. Francis created a scene in which people could experience what God really did when he became a human being in a manger, in a barnyard scene.